Shai's silent power move, the Oklahoma City Thunder just made 2 quiet trades. But inside the NBA, nobody is calling this quiet anymore. Because when Isaiah Joe was sent to Detroit and Aaron Wiggins was moved just days before, it did not look like a basketball decision at first. It looked like accounting. It looked like Sam Presti staring at a massive luxury tax bill and cutting whatever he had to cut before the second apron swallowed the Thunder alive. But then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander reacted, and suddenly, the story became much bigger. This was not just about Isaiah Joe. This was not just about Aaron Wiggins. This was not even just about saving money. This was about power, superstar power. The kind of power that does not always come through a press conference, a trade demand, or a dramatic quote on social media. Sometimes it comes quietly, behind closed doors, through trusted people, through one simple message that changes the direction of an entire franchise. Keep Lu Dort, that is the real story hiding behind these trades. Shai had already told the world he did not want to interfere with Oklahoma City's roster decisions. He said he trusted the front office. He said he was not going to be that superstar who calls the general manager and demands moves. But almost immediately after that, the Thunder started moving pieces in a way that pointed toward one goal: protect the core, reduce the bill, and give themselves a chance to keep the teammate Shai values more than almost anyone. Lu Dort is not just another player to Shai. He is a close friend. He is a fellow Canadian. He is one of the last physical reminders of the painful rebuild, the losing seasons, the empty expectations, and the long climb that turned Oklahoma City from a young experiment into a real championship threat. From the outside, Dort is a complicated contract. From inside the locker room, he is part of the soul. And that is where this gets dangerous, because OKC is no longer a cute young team with cheap contracts and unlimited patience. The Thunder are expensive now. Shai, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren are the future, but that future costs real money. Every role player matters. Every contract matters. Every dollar above the tax line becomes a strategic decision. And when a championship team reaches this stage, somebody usually gets sacrificed. Isaiah Joe was sacrificed. Aaron Wiggins was sacrificed. But Lu Dort? Shai may not let that happen. That is why the entire league is watching Oklahoma City right now, not because the Thunder traded 2 rotation players for second-round picks, but because those moves may have revealed the new reality in OKC. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not just the face of the franchise anymore. He is the voice the franchise has to hear, and after everything he has done, how could they ignore him? This is the same player the Clippers once treated like a trade piece. The same young guard sent away in the Paul George deal. The same player who turned that rejection into motivation, became an MVP, became a champion, became the man who made Oklahoma City believe it had won one of the biggest trades in NBA history. Now, years later, Shai is not the player being moved. He is the player everyone else is being moved around. And that is the twist. The Thunder are trying to keep a dynasty alive without breaking the bank. Shai is trying to keep his brother beside him without breaking the team. Sam Presti is trying to solve a puzzle where money, loyalty, chemistry, and championship pressure are all fighting for the same space. One wrong move could damage the locker. One smart move could keep OKC on top for years. So the question now is simple. Is Shai protecting the culture that made the Thunder special? Or is Oklahoma City about to learn the dangerous cost of giving one superstar this much influence? Before we go deeper, tell us where you are watching from right now. If you think OKC must keep Lu Dort to keep Shai happy, comment 1. If you think the Thunder should ignore emotions and make the best financial move, comment 2. And if you follow NBA drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes stories like this, make sure you subscribe, because this Thunder situation is only getting more intense. Why Oklahoma City had to cut salary fast. The part most fans do not want to hear is this: winning gets expensive. For years, Oklahoma City had the dream setup: a superstar rising into his prime, 2 young co-stars still growing, a bench full of hungry players, and enough draft picks to make the rest of the league uncomfortable. The Thunder were not just good, they were ahead of schedule, ahead of the market, and ahead of almost every team trying to build the same way. But the NBA does not let you stay cheap forever. Once Shai Gilgeous-Alexander became an MVP-level player, once Jalen Williams turned into a real two-way star, once Chet Holmgren became a franchise big man instead of just a prospect, the clock started ticking. Rookie contracts become max extensions. Bargain deals become expensive decisions. Role players who once felt easy to keep suddenly become luxury items. That is where Oklahoma City is right now. The trades of Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins were not random. They were not emotional. They were not about blaming two players for a playoff loss. They were about the second apron, the luxury tax, and the brutal financial reality of trying to keep a championship core together. On paper, trading Joe and Wiggins saved the Thunder a massive amount of money. But in the locker room, it sent a different message. It told everyone that the easy years are over. It told every role player that production alone may not be enough. And it told Shai that even a team built around him will still have to make cold decisions. That is what makes this story so tense. Oklahoma City is not trying to tear anything down. They are trying to preserve what they already built. But preservation in the modern NBA does not always look pretty. Sometimes it looks like moving a shooter who helped you through the regular season. Sometimes it looks like trading a fan favorite who did everything right. Sometimes it looks like telling the audience one story while the real story is happening behind closed doors. The Thunder had to act because the money was becoming dangerous. With Shai, Jalen, and Chet all moving into superstar-level salary territory, the front office had no choice but to start trimming around the edges. The problem is that the edges in OKC are not weak. The edges are talented. The edges can play. The edges have value. That is why Joe and Wiggins leaving hurts. But the Thunder are betting that the next wave can replace them. Jared McCain, Cason Wallace, the young guards, the draft picks, the cheaper contracts. Sam Presti is not just cutting salary. He is trying to swap expensive depth for affordable upside before the second apron turns flexibility into a prison. And still, through all of that math, one name keeps hanging over the entire plan: Lu Dort. Because if OKC was only chasing savings, Dort would be one of the easiest contracts to question. But if OKC is chasing trust, culture, and Shai's long-term happiness, Dort becomes much harder to move. That is the battle inside the Thunder right now. The calculator says one thing. The franchise player may be saying another, and when the franchise player is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the calculator does not always get the final word. The fan favorites who became sacrifices, Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins, were not stars. But that is exactly why their departures hit differently. Stars are supposed to dominate headlines. Stars are supposed to decide the future of franchises. But championship teams are built in the quiet spaces with players who do not always get the biggest interviews, the loudest praise, or the most expensive shoes. They are built with guys who fill gaps, hit shots, defend, stay ready, and accept roles that change from night to night. That is what Joe and Wiggins represented in Oklahoma City. Aaron Wiggins was never the loudest name on the roster, but he was steady. He could score when needed. He could survive inside Mark Daigneault's demanding system. He understood spacing, effort, timing, and the kind of discipline that young teams usually struggle to find. For long stretches, he was the type of player coaches love because he did not need chaos to make an impact. But when the playoffs came, his role shrank. That was not necessarily a failure. That was the cost of playing on a roster loaded with talent. In Oklahoma City, being good was no longer enough. You had to be necessary. And when the team looked at the future salary sheet, Wiggins became less of a luxury they could enjoy and more of a contract they could move. That is cold, but that is the NBA. Isaiah Joe's exit may sting even more for some fans because shooting always feels replaceable until it disappears. Joe could change the feel of a game with 2 quick threes. He gave OKC spacing. He forced defenses to stay honest. He punished lazy closeouts and gave Shai more room to work. Even if he was not a postseason star, his regular season value was real. But the second apron does not care about warm memory. It does not care that fans liked him. It does not care that he had nights where the arena exploded because his shot caught fire. It only cares about numbers. Salary in, salary out. Tax penalties, flexibility, roster spots, exceptions, future decisions. And that is why both players became sacrifices. Not because they were bad, because Oklahoma City became too good. That is the strange punishment of success. When a team is rebuilding, it can afford patience. It can keep extra players. It can give minutes to everyone. But when a team is chasing banners, every roster spot becomes a question. Every dollar becomes a debate. Every player must either be central to the mission or vulnerable to the math. Joe and Wiggins were caught in that middle ground. Too good to be meaningless. Not untouchable enough to be protected. And Shai watched it happen. That matters because these were not anonymous names on a spreadsheet to him. These were teammates. These were guys who practiced, traveled, won, lost, and built chemistry inside the same locker room. When two players leave in a matter of days, a superstar notices. He understands the business, but he also understands the emotional cost. That is why Lu Dort becomes different. Because if OKC was willing to move Joe and Wiggins, fans immediately started asking, who is next? And the obvious answer, financially, was Dort. But the obvious answer emotionally may be the one Shai refuses to accept. Lu Dort, the player Shai refuses to lose. To understand why Shai Gilgeous-Alexander may be drawing the line at Lu Dort, you have to understand one thing. Dort is not just a contract. He is history. He was there before the Thunder became a powerhouse again, before the MVP trophies, before the title pressure, before the league started treating OKC like the next great dynasty. Dort was part of the grind, the losing years, the rebuild, and the climb. That matters to Shai. From the outside, Dort is a difficult decision. His salary is high, his offense can be limited, and the Thunder need every dollar to matter. On a spreadsheet, he looks movable, maybe even logical to move. But inside the locker room, Dort means something different. He is Shai's close friend. He is his fellow Canadian. He is the defender who takes the hardest assignments, absorbs the physical battles, and does the kind of dirty work that never shows up in highlight clips. When OKC needs someone to fight through screens, pressure elite scorers, and bring toughness to a playoff series, Dort is often the answer. That is why this decision is not only about money, it is about trust. Trading Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins hurt, but trading Dort would feel different. It would not just remove a role player. It could remove part of the team's identity. It could tell the locker room that even the players who help build the culture can be sacrificed when the math gets uncomfortable. Maybe that is the smart move. Maybe that is the necessary move. But Shai may not see it that way. To him, Dort represents loyalty, defense, brotherhood, and the painful years that shaped this team. And in a championship locker room, those things matter more than outsiders realize. So now Oklahoma City faces a brutal choice. Keeping Dort could cost money. Losing Dort could cost trust. And for a franchise built around Shai, trust may be the one thing the Thunder cannot afford to lose. Lu Dort, the player Shai refuses to lose. To understand why Shai Gilgeous-Alexander may be drawing the line at Lu Dort, you have to understand one thing. Dort is not just a contract. He is history. He was there before the Thunder became a powerhouse again. Before the MVP trophies, before the title pressure, before the league started treating OKC like the next great dynasty, Dort was part of the grind, the losing years, the rebuild, and the climb. That matters to Shai. From the outside, Dort is a difficult decision. His salary is high, his offense can be limited, and the Thunder need every dollar to matter. On a spreadsheet, he looks movable, maybe even logical to move, but inside the locker room, Dort means something different. He is Shai's close friend. He is his fellow Canadian. He is the defender who takes the hardest assignments, absorbs the physical battles, and does the kind of dirty work that never shows up in highlight clips. When OKC needs someone to fight through screens, pressure elite scorers, and bring toughness to a playoff series, Dort is often the answer. That is why this decision is not only about money, it is about trust. Trading Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins hurt, but trading Dort would feel different. It would not just remove a role player. It could remove part of the team's identity. It could tell the locker room that even the players who help build the culture can be sacrificed when the math gets uncomfortable. Maybe that is the smart move. Maybe that is the necessary move. But Shai may not see it that way. To him, Dort represents loyalty, defense, brotherhood, and the painful years that shaped this team. And in a championship locker room, those things matter more than outsiders realize. So now Oklahoma City faces a brutal choice. Keeping Dort could cost money. Losing Dort could cost trust. And for a franchise built around Shai, trust may be the one thing the Thunder cannot afford to lose. Sam Presti's impossible puzzle. Sam Presti built one of the smartest rosters in basketball. Now he has to keep it from becoming too expensive to survive. That is the cruel side of success. When a young team is rebuilding, every contract feels manageable. But when that same team becomes a contender, the numbers start closing in. Shai, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren are the future, but that future costs real money. And Presti has too many pieces to protect. Shai is the center. Jalen and Chet are the pillars. Case and Wallace will need to be paid soon. Jared McCain and the younger guards may have to replace the minutes left behind by Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins. Hartenstein brings size and physicality OKC still needs. Kenrich Williams is another financial decision. Then there is Lu Dort. Every move affects the next one. If Dort stays, the money gets tighter. If Dort goes, Shai may feel ignored. If Hartenstein agrees to a longer deal at a lower number, the math becomes easier. If he does not, Presti has to find another path. If the young guards are ready, the Thunder can survive. That is why this summer is not just about cutting salary. It is about protecting a championship window. Presti has to listen to Shai without letting emotion control the roster. He has to respect loyalty without damaging flexibility. He has to make the Thunder cheaper without making them weaker. That is an almost impossible balance. Because Shai has earned a voice. He is the face of the team, the MVP level leader, and the reason OKC believes this era can last. But listening to a superstar is different from giving him every decision. The best organizations collaborate. That is what OKC must do now. Presti cannot make this feel like the front office against Shai. He has to make it feel like Shai and the front office solving the same problem together. The Joe and Wiggins, they created flexibility, they opened paths, but they did not solve everything. The real question is still waiting. Can Oklahoma City keep the roster strong, keep the money under control, and keep Shai fully bought in? That is the puzzle, and Presti has to solve it before the rest of the league finds a crack. The ghost of the Clippers trade. Every time Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gains more power in Oklahoma City, one old story comes back: the Clippers trade. In 2019, Los Angeles wanted Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to become the superstar duo that would finally bring the franchise a championship. To make it happen, they sent Shai, Danilo Gallinari, and a mountain of picks to Oklahoma City. At the time, Shai was not the headline. He was the young piece in a bigger deal, but history flipped the entire story. The Clippers thought they were buying a title window. Instead, they gave OKC the foundation of a new era. Shai turned from a promising guard into an MVP-level superstar, the face of the Thunder, and the player who made that trade look worse every single year for Los Angeles. That is why this moment matters so much. Shai knows what it feels like to be treated like a movable asset. He knows what it feels like when a franchise chooses someone else's future over yours. That memory became fuel, and Oklahoma City became the place where he turned rejection into power. Now the roles have changed. Shai is no longer the player being moved. He is the player the organization is moving around, and that is the irony. The Clippers once traded him to satisfy their superstar dream. Now OKC is trading other players, cutting salary, and reshaping the roster to keep Shai satisfied. But Oklahoma City also understands the danger. This franchise has already lived through the pain of losing Kevin Durant. It knows how quickly a golden era can disappear. So when Shai quietly makes it clear that Lu Dort matters to him, the Thunder cannot treat it like a normal roster opinion. They hear history. They hear the warning: do not make your superstar feel ignored. That does not mean Shai controls everything, but it does mean his trust is part of the team's future. Years ago, he wanted Oklahoma City to feel like it won the Clippers trade. Now OKC must make sure Shai feels like he truly belongs at the center of everything they are building. How Shai became untouchable. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not just Oklahoma City's best player anymore. He is the center of the entire franchise. Every major decision now connects back to him. The roster, the salary sheet, the championship window, the locker room culture, and the future identity of the Thunder. When a player reaches that level, he is no longer just part of the plan. He becomes the plan, and Shai earned that position. He did not arrive in OKC as a superstar. He arrived as the young player included in a blockbuster trade. He was supposed to be a promising piece, not the face of a franchise. But year after year, he grew into something bigger. His scoring became elite. His pace became impossible to speed up. His leadership became calm but powerful. He turned Oklahoma City from a rebuilding project into a real contender. Then the awards came. Then the wins came. Then the expectations changed forever. That is why the Thunder cannot treat him like everyone else. Shai gives OKC credibility. He gives fans belief. He gives young players a standard. He gives the organization a chance to build something that lasts. For a small market team, that kind of player is priceless. That is why he is untouchable. Not just because of his contract, because of what he represents. And that is why Lu Dort's situation has become so important. If a normal player wanted Dort to stay, the front office could listen and still move on. But when Shai values Dort, the conversation becomes much bigger. It becomes a question of trust. OKC has to balance the money with the locker room. They have to protect their financial flexibility without making their superstar feel dismissed. They have to be smart, but they also have to be human. That is the burden of having a franchise player like Shai. The blessing is obvious. You have one of the best players in the world. The pressure is quieter. Every move sends a message. And Shai understands that better than anyone because once upon a time, he was the message in someone else's trade. Now he is the player Oklahoma City cannot afford to disappoint. The dangerous side of superstar power. Superstar power can protect a team, but it can also trap one. That is the line Oklahoma City is walking with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He has earned a voice, he has earned respect, he has earned the right to care about who stays and who leaves. But once a superstar's opinion starts shaping roster decisions, every choice becomes more complicated. To be clear, Shai is not creating chaos. He is not demanding a trade. He is not attacking the front office. He is not turning the situation into a public war. His message appears simple. Lu Dort matters to me. I want the team to understand that. That is reasonable. But even reasonable requests can create pressure. If OKC keeps Dort because Shai wants him, what happens next time? What happens when another contract becomes too expensive? What happens when the smartest basketball move hurts the superstar emotionally? What happens when loyalty and strategy point in opposite directions? That is how championship teams get tested. The Thunder cannot ignore Shai, but they also cannot let emotion fully control the roster. The best franchises know how to listen to their stars without losing discipline. They do not treat superstars like outsiders, but they also do not hand them the keys to every decision. That is Sam Presti's challenge. He has to make this feel like Shai working with the front office, not Shai fighting against it. If Shai feels respected, he may accept a tough decision, but if he feels ignored, the damage could be deeper than any luxury tax bill. In the NBA, trust is not just emotional. It is strategic. That is why this situation is so delicate. Keeping Dort could protect the locker room. Trading Dort could protect the cap sheet. Doing either one the wrong way could hurt the Thunder's future. Shai's influence is not a problem by itself. In many ways, it is a gift. It shows that he cares about the team, the culture, and the people around him. But OKC must manage that influence carefully, because dynasties do not only fall apart from bad trades. Sometimes they fall apart when good intentions go too far. 3 possible outcomes for Oklahoma City. There are 3 ways this story can end. The first is the emotional win. Oklahoma City keeps Lu Dort. If Presti finds a way to make the money work, Shai feels heard, Dort stays, and the locker room keeps one of its emotional anchors. The Thunder can tell themselves they protected the culture without completely destroying the cap sheet. That would be the cleanest ending, but it still carries risk. Dort's offensive limitations do not disappear. His contract still matters. And if he struggles again in the playoffs, the same questions will return even louder. The second outcome is the cold business move. OKC trades Dort anyway. This may be the easiest financial solution. It could help the Thunder breathe under the second apron and give them more flexibility for future moves. From a front office perspective, it may even be the smartest move, but emotionally, it is dangerous. If Shai feels ignored, the damage could go beyond one trade. He may understand the business, but understanding does not always erase disappointment. For a franchise built around his trust, that matters. The third outcome is the compromise. Maybe OKC keeps Dort for now and revisits the situation later. Maybe they wait to see how the team looks. Maybe they search for a trade that feels respectful instead of rushed. Maybe they use the Joe and Wiggins trades to buy time while exploring a cleaner solution. This may be the most realistic path, but it also creates uncertainty. And uncertainty can wear on a team. Every report becomes a signal. Every rumor becomes a question. Every move gets connected back to Shai, Dort, and the future of the Thunder. That is why OKC needs clarity, even if the public does not hear every detail. Shai needs to know the plan. Dort needs honesty. The locker room needs to believe the organization is still chasing championships, not just managing salary, because the West will not wait. San Antonio is rising. Denver is dangerous. Dallas, Minnesota, Houston, and every other hungry team will look for any weakness. If OKC solves this, the Thunder remain one of the scariest teams in the league. If they mishandle it, this could become the first real crack in the Shai era. The lesson behind Shai's Thunder era. The real lesson in Oklahoma City is simple. Winning is expensive. For years, the Thunder had the perfect rebuild. Young stars, cheap contracts, draft picks, patience, and a superstar growing into greatness. But now, the bill has arrived. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the face of the franchise. Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren are major pillars. Every role player, every dollar, and every roster spot now matters. That is why Lu Dort's situation is so important. Keeping him protects trust, chemistry, and Shai's voice. Moving him may protect the cap sheet and the future. Neither choice is easy. Oklahoma City cannot treat players like numbers only, but they also cannot ignore the financial reality of the NBA. They have to respect Shai without letting emotion replace strategy. That is the balance every great team must find. Shai's journey makes this even deeper. The Clippers once traded him as part of someone else's dream. OKC gave him the space to become the dream. Now he is trying to protect the people who helped build it. That does not mean he should control every decision. It means his voice matters. If Sam Presti gets this right, the Thunder can protect their culture, keep their title window open, and stay one of the most dangerous teams in the NBA. If he gets it wrong, this could become the first crack in the Shai era. So now it is your turn. If OKC should keep Lu Dort for Shai, comment 1. If they should make the smartest financial move, comment 2. If you think Presti can solve both problems, comment 3. And if you want more NBA drama, trade stories, and behind-the-scenes breakdowns, make sure you like, share, and subscribe before the next big move shakes the league again.